All right, guys, welcome back to the 10th and final key knowledge dot point for this first outcome in Unit 1. So this closes out the outcome, and this one is all about fostering a culture of innovation. So here is our study design, and here is where it sits. And you can see that's a fairly hefty dot point there. And one of the reasons for that is because it actually provides a script for us. So remember what we've said, a couple of the earlier key knowledge dot points also had a script. The last couple didn't. They were fairly basic and didn't, provide us with a direction to go in terms of detail. But this one does. You can see at the back end of this, it gives us 4 examples of which governments can do this. So therefore, we're going to stick to that. So if I just break that, because it's quite a hefty statement or bullet point. If I break that down a little, so the same wording, we're just breaking it out to make it more clear. The methods by which, blah, 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 and then the 4 methods which the study design is saying that we need to focus on. Because if you Googled or if you did GPT, the methods by which a culture of innovation can be fostered, something like that, it's not necessarily going to give you these 4. And therefore, it's not going to score your marks. So because the study design identifies these ones, we need to focus on these ones and include only these ones. So let's get into this. Now, I guess we've got to start with, already you might be a little confused and not understanding what we're even going on about here. So let's start with this first part of the bullet point, the methods by which a culture of business innovation and entrepreneurship may be fostered in a nation. So a couple of words in there might be throwing you off. So let's restate that to make it maybe more understandable, hopefully, if you're struggling to understand that. So what that's really saying is the ways in which the government can nurture or promote the growth of, encourage business owners to be innovative and ultimately successful. So how can the government basically set the scene, which makes it more possible for business owners to be more able to be innovative and be entrepreneurial, and therefore create businesses which will be successful in the future? So how can the government actually help businesses along effectively? That's really fundamentally what we're coming down to it. How can the government help businesses be more successful? At its most base level, that's what that statement means. Okay. I guess the next question you might ask then, now you've understood what that means, is why does the government care? Why does the government even want to do this? Because you'll see in a minute that these things cost money, or most of them cost money. Why does the government put money into this? Why do they even think about this? Why is this even a thing? Why do they care? Okay. Well, the reason for that is all of those 10 reasons and more that we just looked at in Key Knowledge 9, the contributions that businesses make to the economy and also to the social well-being of the inhabitants within that economy. So in other words, if we have more successful businesses, we see all of those benefits that we looked at, the 6 economic benefits, the 4 social well-being benefits. And at the end of the day, if you're the government, you're kind of managing the country, you want to look after all of those things and make all of those things as good as possible. So therefore, it's probably in your best interests as a government to set things up in such a way to make it as easy as possible for businesses to succeed. Okay, so hopefully by now you get what we're talking about, where we're going. So really, the rest of this is all about how the government actually does this. And like I say, there's 4 ways the study design says. The reality is there are more, but we're just going to stick with the study design. So we'll take each of those 4 in turn. First one it said was government investment in research and development. Again, this term has cropped up a few times now, research and development. We've said before, R&D is very expensive, very time consuming, and realistically, it's not a viable option for most small businesses, even medium businesses. We saw those huge figures that, the huge tech companies spend in the States, billions and billions of dollars, and some big, some Australian business, bigger Australian businesses spend a fair amount as well. But it's not really realistic for a small to medium-sized business to be pumping tons and tons of money into R&D. So to encourage R&D, particularly in those smaller and medium-sized businesses, Both federal and state governments put together a range of initiatives to make the process a bit more affordable. Either direct funding, so you can apply and they'll directly pay. That includes grants as well. So grants is funding which the government, basically you apply for a grant and you don't have to pay it back. So direct funding and grants is one way, but they do it. But another way they do it, which is probably a little bit more common, is by providing tax incentives for businesses to invest. So encouraging, basically what that means is tax incentive is businesses can reduce the amount of tax they pay by investing in R&D. So an example of this is if you just Googled under the ATO website, R&D tax incentive, you can see there a refundable tax offset for certain entities whose aggregated turnover is less than 20 million, non-refundable tax offset for all other eligible entities. So look, you dig into this a little bit more, but basically if you invest in R&D, what they're saying is that the government will reduce your tax liability in effect. So that's a fairly common way to do it. But like I said, other than that, you can apply. Often the government will just offer grants, which you apply for and you may receive. The second one, council grants for new businesses. Now, I've just mentioned grants, but this is more general, not just for R&D. And this is more often done by local councils. Okay, so local councils provide grants to individuals and small businesses in their community for a number of reasons. And one of the reasons is to encourage entrepreneurship and the development of small businesses within their council area. Okay, councils want successful businesses to be operating. Again, those businesses will then be generating revenue back for the council because they charge them fees and levies on certain things. And also, if you've got successful businesses in your area, it brings people to the area. So again, it's in the interests of Nillumbik Council, of Whittlesea, of Banyule, whichever. It's in their interests to be having successful businesses operating like on their patch. So one of the ways they do this is by offering local council grants to small business owners that can help them get up and running, for example. So you might use the grant to cover your startup costs, purchasing machinery and equipment, that sort of thing. So if you're wanting to start up a restaurant or a cafe, installing an industrial professional kitchen is pretty expensive. So you might be able to apply for a grant to the local council that you are within to get a grant to help you with those expenses. And all you would do is go into the website of whichever local council your business is going to be operating within, and they all do this. And you just Google, search in there for small business grants, and it will give you information about whatever is going at that particular time that you might be up for, essentially. So yeah, very practical way. Again, if anybody is ever starting a new business and you don't do this, then you kind of it's ridiculous, because this is essentially free money. Again, so this is one of the parts of the course where we're giving you very practical advice in terms of if you ever were going to start a business, these are the kind of processes you want to be doing, want to be going through. Why would you not take advantage of free money if it's out there to be taken advantage of? But again, I guarantee you a lot of small business owners don't go through this process and they miss out on this sort of thing. So this is much more the practical kind of part of the course. Here's just on the City of Melbourne's website, they just give some information about all the businesses that have received grants and what they did with that money, so on and so forth. So again, just dig around on the internet and you'll be able to find what you need. Method 3, school-based educational programs and entrepreneurship, like courses you might study at school. For example, this course, okay, VCE Business Management. There's other programs that can be run in certain schools. $20 Boss, the ABW Enterprise Education does some stuff, but basically, yeah, things like this, which are going to teach you about entrepreneurship and processes you can go through in order to start your own small business once you leave school or later in life. And method 4, this is becoming an increasingly popular one, regional business startup hubs. These are shared spaces that business people can use and often also get support from resources there related to the running of their business. Okay, so there's a bit of an image of one there. So what happens is you basically pay a fee. It might be a one-off fee if you just wanted to go in there once, or it might be a weekly or a monthly fee if you wanted to access it kind of consistently. But if you don't want to pay for an office space yourself, which is very, very expensive, so I actually know people that run small businesses in Melbourne who take advantage of these. They to hire an actual office space just for yourself in a CBD of Melbourne is pretty expensive. So rather than do that, you can access one of these shared spaces where lots of different small businesses access. And you kind of have shared resources, between you. So an example is here, Small Business Centres Victoria, which is a network of centres. This is set up by the government, providing a range of business services in 6 metro and 14 regional locations throughout the state. And they give you access, they give small business owners access to cheaper premises. There's often advice and support on tap within the centre that you can access, workshops and seminars. If there's certain areas, say maybe marketing your business or staffing or whatever it might be, there's areas that you feel you're lacking in knowledge, you can access those resources. And other low-cost resources such as, things like photocopying and printing and all the kind of practical stuff that you might need for your business. So this one, again, this is the government, this is state government setting this up. Again, the state government is, this is not a cheap thing for the state government to do necessarily. There's a cost to it, but the reason the state government do this is because it's in the state's government interests for businesses to be operating as successfully as they can within the state of Victoria. And that's it. A nice, quick and easy one to finish the outcome with. I will see you back for the start of outcome 2. Cheers for now.